do believe that your last few comments about innovation set Maurice Pentel up very well, actually. So Maurice, supported by Tony Porter from PSS Help, to talk about something bigger than the internet. So Maurice, over to you. Thank you.
Oops. So there's a control. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Maurice Pentel. I'm the chairman of a thing called the Customer Experience Foundation. I have one of the best jobs in the world. I travel around the world giving really silly advice to very big companies and governments, and they pay me to do it, which is fantastic. We're going to be talking about a thing called bigger than the internet. That's bigger than the inter.net. It's available online. We're going to be rushing through some of the stuff we've got to talk about because we're going to be telling you a bit of a scary story. Before I get into that, why don't I pass you over to my organisation's biggest sponsor and my personal friend, Tony. Tony, say hello.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So yeah, Maurice is right. We're going to be talking about something we believe is bigger than the internet. And Maurice has got the greatest job in the world, and obviously I have to fund that. What I get to do is to take Maurice's vision and try and craft and turn that into real business solutions for my business. I'm the Executive Vice President of a company called PSS, and we're a contact centre integrator. So I'm trying to take what Maurice is taking as leading edge thinking and put it into practice. It's a four-part story, like all good stories. Got some chapters. The first part is about disruptive innovation. And that's lots of things, disruptive innovation, lots of things happening at the same time. The second part, and we heard earlier from Anthony about customer power. So we believe the customer power is more about where the customer is going to interact with their providers, and that's on their mobile phone. So we're looking about that. And then we're going to look about where they're going to do that. We believe it's going to be out there. It's going to be in the customer's world, not in that of the enterprise. And finally, a point that Mike's made, we're going to touch on a bit more. We're calling it the business model puzzle. How are organisations going to deal with that? Because we'll look at boardrooms, we'll look at structures. Maurice will go into some detail around that, and we'll say that businesses are not fit or ready, or actually in some cases seeing where this customer power is going to take them. So disruptive innovation, and what we mean by disruptive innovation in this case is lots of different things happening, and it's happening at the same time at the same place. That's the real key about this. And what it's going to do is actually going to deliver a single experience for the customer. And we believe it's going to happen in such a way that it's going to create almost a tidal wave of innovation, which is what's going to make a difference.
Actually, Tony, I think you're wrong. I don't think it's a tidal wave. I think it's an extinction level event. This is the one that killed the dinosaurs. What we're seeing at the moment is a massive change in the nature of innovation. We're seeing a massive change in the nature of economics. So I'm a scientist of sorts, and I started building a model. I was trying to work something out, and I won't bore you with the details of this. You can find this all online. But so I started to assign some values, and I found this one value, and it scared the hell out of me. And I won't bore you, but basically consumer power or customer power is running at a rate that we can't actually calculate. And so I wondered what that meant, and I wonder what that meant in terms of disruptive innovation. And what we're going to be talking about now is actually some of the outputs of that. Let me give you the first one. Most of our economic models are wrong. And I just want to take a second. Most of our economic models are wrong. Our models are wrong, and because our models are wrong, it changes everything. So let me show you the first bit about the model that's wrong. Here's what we used to have was consumers, paid industry, and industry-owned innovation. All right? And actually now consumers are going directly to innovation, and industry is facing the wrong way. I've been talking to one of the world's largest suppliers this week about the fact that they ought to be talking to the consumer, not to industry. Let me just stress that this bit where consumers are going round the other way makes a massive difference. Hopefully we'll be able to explain that. But here's just one simple thing. And I'm going to talk about this stuff a little later on. But just in terms of the number of lost jobs in retail. Yeah. Now, we've done some forecasting around this, and unfortunately the employment figures aren't cut, so I can give you any kind of certainty. Whether it's 3 million lost jobs or 5 million lost jobs, I don't know, and if I don't know, pretty much no one knows at the moment, because we simply don't have the data. But if you think about how the smartphone is changing your life, if you think about what's going on, let me give you one figure quickly. 30% of all data in the United States during prime time is Netflix. All right? Netflix has gone in 3 years to becoming 30% of all prime time data downloaded in the United States. Think about that. Almost everything that existed 12 years ago in terms of our behavior and our interaction with technology has dramatically changed. How many people here on Facebook? Okay, LinkedIn? There's my working audience. Well done, everybody. None of that stuff even existed. Our world's changing at a dramatic rate. And it's all being driven by one thing. Yeah, that change in the flow of the economy.
For the first time in history, we as consumers, most of us are consumers in this room, have actually got better technology than the people that are providing our service. So for the first time in history, that's changed.
We as business are spending billions on innovation. Whether it's 20 billion or 30 billion depends on, it's somewhere in that order. But in terms of what the consumer is spending, it's tens of trillions. And if I can just... Anybody know who this guy is? Usain Bolt, yeah? Won more Olympic medals. Has everybody heard of Usain Bolt? Thank goodness for that, otherwise this joke doesn't work, right? He is remarkable, a fantastic physical specimen. I'm sure if I stood next to him, I'd feel so physically inferior, it's just too sad. But, and he represents us, the business world and what we're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a Ferrari. And although he is the world's fastest man, the Ferrari represents the consumer. Well, it doesn't matter that he's the world's fastest man. Yeah, it's still a bloody motor car. And that's the point. The consumers are leaving us behind at a dramatic pace, and we're all facing the wrong direction and not looking at it. Tony.
And so the other thing that is going to change is that we're seeing a change in the customer experience, because we're also now able to receive the information, whether it's voice, video or data, at the same time, and it's arriving at the same place. And then it allows us to take the functionality that we see there, whether it's social media, smart devices, the growth in big data, high-speed Wi-Fi, all of that is contributing to the change of the customer experience. And if we go on, the other thing the customer is also experiencing, or expects to experience, is that they can get all that relationship, all of that experience on a multitude of devices. They no longer think they've got to have a different relationship depending on the device they have at that time, at that point, when they want to interact. If we look at the processing power, this is how we see the model changing. So today, you've roughly got something in the region of 25% of the spending is in the consumer hands, and 75. So we told this story, saw the dollar signs earlier. So we think within a very short period of time, perhaps 3 years, you're looking at a complete transformation. You're looking at moving from something in the region of 25% of the spend is being done by the enterprise and 75% by the consumer. That's a fundamental change. So why does it make a difference? Well, because it's easier, and genuinely you get a better customer experience. So if you consider the money that, how often do your mobile phone, you wake up, there's another download of Facebook, there's an update of Twitter. Google's now got that irritating three-tier interface on their site. But these people are spending a fortune. So if you compare it to the industry I'm in, people like Genesis, people like Avaya, it's eclipsing the amount of money they're spending on their infrastructure, on their switch infrastructure. It's eclipsing that by some considerable way. So why would you not then use them? It's the question. What it then means is the control is moving out of the enterprise's hands into that of the customer or the consumer. So, put bluntly, it's cheaper, but if you decide to make that transition, you've suddenly gone and starting to play in the customer's court. You're going to lose control of the relationship.
Okay, one of the other big changes that we face is it's not just that all of our processing is going to move onto the consumer device. So why would you build a huge security system if actually someone's going to put it on the mobile phone? Apple have got the finger biometric. I noticed one of our sponsors here, Nuance, they're doing some fantastic work about putting voice biometrics into the phone. Why would you be buying big systems? Why would you own your own appointment-making system? Most of your strategy actually needs to be out there in the real world. The boundaries of our world are changing. And the reason that they're changing is because things like augmented reality are actually bringing the process and the business process back into the real world. So now, as we walk along, it's going to make our relationship three-dimensional. Wherever you are, whenever you want, whatever channel you're going to use, you're going to want to buy or not. And customers will move with their feet. Yeah? Here's a really interesting one of the pieces that came up. Scan and take. You will not queue up at a supermarket anymore. You won't queue up at a checkout anymore. You'll take out your mobile device, you'll scan the product, it will automatically bank, your receipt will go straight to your email or something else. And I want to say something, ladies and gentlemen. This stuff I'm talking about is not the future. Everything I'm showing you today is being done by somebody, somewhere, right now. Yeah? The fact your organization aren't doing it is kind of your problem, but this stuff it's actually happening now. So mobile money, as far as I can tell, there's about 140 different versions of that at the moment. It's all coming along really quickly. Real-time mapping. Why would you not build in Google Maps into your relationship when the plugin is so cheap and it's easy to do? Why would you build your own mapping service? Why would you not want to control someone's visit to your shop, to your bank, to your organization? Why would you not want to look after your staff if you are actually involved in care and protection in some public sector role? And as for things like call routing and queuing, I first started working on the design of the call center, I'm reminded, in the early 80s. I guess I was one of the first people to stand up in a room and say, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you what a call center is. And the way we're doing it now is so out of date, it would be sad if it wasn't making me money. And there's a whole thing called blended contact center. We're going to talk about that very briefly as we go. Here's something. I went past there. 2012, 7 million downloads of augmented reality apps in the UK. Yeah, expected to be double that by the end of the year. This was something we did for someone, and this is what it's going to look like when you point the camera at their world. This, I love this. This is out of America. You can download a recipe that you want to make. It will show you where all the items for cooking your recipe are going to be. And not only that, it will tell you about your favorites and that there's a sales alert for one of those. This is something I designed for an organization. I was so proud. This will tell you if a sofa gets through a door. And you think, wow, the guy's really clever. So I sent this to a guy in America who said, yeah, but I did this. And what his does is not only work out if you can get it through the door, it works out if you can get it up the stairs, and it also calculates whether or not the people involved in doing the job are fit enough. Yeah. Yeah, and his design was much better than mine, I have to say. I love this, Ray-Ban glasses, right? I'm now too lazy to take one pair of glasses off, put on another one, and look in the mirror. This is what my job as a consumer is going to be in the future. Yeah? Here's something that's going to direct me. This stuff is already out there. And for those of you who don't know, Carlos Tevez is a footballer. You can vote interactively during the football match on how well or badly he's doing, whether or not he is the guy that you want to have as man of the match. This is a contact center agent guiding you through the physical world. This guy will be your concierge. He will show you a video of the product that you want to buy. Yeah, and not only will he show you a video of that, all right, he'll guide you through the store to where it is. He'll organize the delivery. He'll do all of it for you. One single phone call. Here's my thing about Google Maps. Why would you not use it? Yeah. Why would you not give the same map to your staff together with the other instructions? Why would you build it on a completely different platform that costs you significantly more? One of the small things, and it's a very small thing, and I'd like you all to keep it a secret, and guys, you know, probably, I don't want this on film, but billions of transactions, you know, billions of human interactions go on Facebook. Yeah, much simpler system, works very well. So just before I pass this over, I just want to make a point. The reason that this stuff is so important is because the customer now has control. Tony, why don't you tell us about this?
So yeah, we were talking earlier on about why wouldn't you do it? Facebook, Twitter, why wouldn't you do it? So here's a case of the lady going past a shop. She's in the street, she's out there, and she can get information whether someone in a magazine has written about shoes, a dress, something in that shop, what her friends think about it. She is in control of the relationship, and therefore she's getting that information while she's in the street, while she's out there. Here's another example. So when you rent a car, you get in a different car, you haven't driven it before, sometimes you wonder, what is that? Is that what I know what I do. It's always you turn the windscreen wipers on when you want to turn left, because you're not quite sure which of the buttons work. So here's a device, you press your camera and you aim it at the stalk, and it'll actually tell you, if you rent an Audi, what that button does. So you're living in, the customer is living in the world, and has devices that can augment their reality, augment their living. So that also means, as Morris said earlier, your customer will decide what they see. Your customer's going to decide if they look in their smartphone and say, I want some coffee, but do you know what? I don't want to go to Starbucks because those buggers don't pay tax. You can actually exclude people from your world. And therefore, they will control the relationship. They will decide, the customer will decide whether they want to lock you out or not. And once you're locked out, that makes it very difficult to re-establish a relationship. You have to build a single and blended contact strategy, and we'll look at that in a few slides' time. And that really leads us to the fourth part of our story. It goes back to Mike, what he said, and Anthony. It's about the business model puzzle. We're calling it the business model puzzle because businesses are not sure what to do at this point in time. And as Morris said earlier, the clock's ticking. This is not going to happen in 10 years' time. This is happening now, and you've seen the pace of change that we're predicting over the next 2 or 3 years. This is going to have a major impact on the operating model of a number of companies, if not all companies.
Here we go. I'm going to teach you a little bit of history of business science from my point of view. This is just a personal view, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you find this interesting. I'm going to do it in a few minutes because Steve's already given me the hurry up, and I want to be quick. So here are our standard organizational pieces. You probably recognize them. And the problem is that all of them are going to have to change really quickly. All right, this is the world I grew up in. It was people, process, technology. That was our business culture. I'm not going to waste too much time on that. That culture produced contact with the outside world. That's the way things used to work. And these were the departments involved in contact back in the 1980s, and in my case, back in the 1970s, because I'm obviously older than I look. And they were represented at the board because they were the ones who either controlled the money or controlled the contact. That's the way it worked then. That's the way things happened. And in terms of, here's our early channels. I remember I used to write letters to people back in the day. Yeah, and if you think about this, so this is it's a bit of business science, three-dimensional modeling. Okay, you've got channels, you've got culture, and you've got departments. It's a way of working the thing out, right? And the second generation added a thing called behavior. And the thing about behavior is what we learned was a little more about customer behavior. I think Mike talked about Andy Carroll and United Breaks Guitars and a whole range of pieces of things. But it's the internal stuff, big data. One of the world's largest logistics organizations saves 30% of their cost simply by adding traffic and weather conditions to the way in which they plan the routes, yeah? So behavior became an important thing, and it was new legislation, but it was also the customer stuff that changed all of that. And so what that required was we had experience, and suddenly the word customer experience came up. I formed the Customer Experience Foundation because I thought it was a really cool name. In terms of our departments, well, other than the 350 emails that everyone gets every single day and the fact they've got 20 meetings to go to, they suddenly now had to create a thing called experience. That was a little bit of a challenge. And you'll notice our channels have started to change at this stage. And again, it's channels and experience done together. And where we went in 5 years was to a completely new world. And if you look at what happened, this changed, culture changed, channels changed, the departments, yeah, okay. We'll come back to them in a second. And then now where we are today, very quickly, is we've got trend information. That's tremendously important. What trends in the world, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about. We've got memory. We understand who our customers are. We understand what's going on in the market. We have historical trends. And of course, we've got the customer. The customer is at the heart of our proposition. Okay, put your hand up if you're in an organization who don't believe that. Right, so here we go. So this is what the new world looked like, and then suddenly we don't want a customer, we don't want contact, we don't want experience, we want a relationship. A long-term relationship is the only sensible value. If I can lock you out, once you're locked out, all of my marketing spend is wasted. It's that simple. I need a long-term relationship. So this is what it looked like for the departments, and of course everyone sat around the board table, and they wondered what the hell a relationship is and what's the difference between relationship and experience. And all that stuff that they'd done, well, now they had to redo it, and it looked like that. And there we go. There's what the model looks like. But meanwhile, what's actually been happening is that the channels have been coalescing. All right, so they now look much more like that. So that's a completely different world again. All right, and if you look at where we were when I started as a young man, and we look at where we are today, yeah, and I guarantee you in 3 years' time it will be completely different again because someone designs in a garage is going to change it all. And so this was today's contact model. All right, and it's siloed, and each of those departments owns their own budgets, and Mike made a very good point about that today. And here's the problem. Yeah, it's human nature. So this is one of my great heroes. He's the Nobel laureate, Danny Kahneman, and he did this thing called prospect theory. You could find out about this on our website, or just look the guy up. Yeah, people fight to save what they've got. They don't fight for a new vision quite as hard. That's a fact. Yeah, and in addition to that, there's a film you have to see called The Truth About Dishonesty. Yeah, and it's well worth watching. So look, here is what the future model looks like. Yeah, it's everybody all working as one piece in one way. Tony, you want to give us just the quick conclusions?
Well, so everything in the model is going to have to change. You've seen how quickly that's changed, the 3 sets of channels in a very short period of time. I think it was Mike also mentioned, you know, there's going to be some conflicts. If you look at the work that Daniel's done, he's saying people are going to fight to keep what they've got. So you're going to get those inner tensions. You're going to get conversations these two guys are having, or perhaps not even having because they're not even speaking to each other. So our conclusion really is the customer will be using the technology, and the relationship is going to extend into the real world. That's the key. And the amount of money that the consumer's spending is completely and utterly outstripping that of the enterprise or the business.
So the bottom line is build yourself some models. Yeah, you probably don't have good ones. all right? Add the customer innovation and relationship to your long-term strategy. You need to think about smart devices, people. You're building your technology in the wrong places, and this is what it's going to look like. It's a blinking tidal wave of innovation right here, right now, today. All right? This is what the world is going to look like from people's point of view. This is my favorite view in the world. This is my hill on top of Hampstead Heath, and this is what it's going to look like to businesses who aren't playing in the new world. So look, ladies and gentlemen, you've been really kind. My name's Maurice Pentel. I hope you've enjoyed today's little conversation. And Tony?
I'm Tony Porter, Product Support Solutions. Hope you've enjoyed our very short message. We're here for the rest of the day. Hope you've enjoyed it.
Thank you for your time.